Holly Tanory, Rob Post. Welcome to the conversation.
Hey, Paul. Hey, Billy. Great to be here. Appreciate you guys inviting us on.
I am a huge college football nerd. I know it doesn't look like it, but deep in here, yeah.
I needed an expert because I have very little sports knowledge, and then Bill, my normal co-host, has absolutely none. So I was like, I need to appear like I know what I'm talking about. So I called over Billy from the Zio to Hero podcast, and he graciously agreed to be on because I am so excited to talk to you both because you have fulfilled one of my dreams. Even though I really don't care about the sport itself, I love action figures, and I've always wanted proper sports action figures. And you have created football action figures that are just as good, if not better, than Marvel Legends. And you've named them, appropriately enough, Collegiate Legends. So tell me, how did this happen? How did you come to create these beautiful action figures?
Well, I'll start with our company is Harbinger Studios, and Collegiate Legends is a brand of Harbinger Studios. Before Collegiate Legends, we have a toy brand called Savage Crucible, which is a fantasy-based 6 to 7 inch scale fantasy line that's been in the first wave's out and doing quite well. I'm very happy with it. Holly and I are both graduates of the University of Alabama, and that's where the angle started. And I think Holly should take over the whole birthing story of Collegiate Legends at that point.
He just says this so he can correct me. I'm just kidding. Rob and I are friends. I take my daughter to every single home game possible. Somewhere in the midst of taking her to all these games, as a mom, my choice was a jersey or a stuffed animal, and we have enough of those in our household. Sure. So expressing this to Rob, and Rob was like, there are no action figures. And I was like, we got to be wrong. Like there's got to be toys. There's got to be action figures. We were not wrong. So my institutional knowledge and higher education knowledge and his action figure knowledge, everyone loves the way it feels and moves. That's all Rob. He is the mastermind behind that. We just kind of combined powers.
Why do you think there haven't been these toys up until now? Why were you the first ones to do it?
Well, we talked about that, and I mean, we get asked that question actually, and I think it's a couple different reasons. One is simply the market is not big enough for a large company like Hasbro or Mattel to mass produce a figure for these teams. They want to produce quantities 70,000 up to 150,000 if they could for one SKU. So when you're buying like Marvel Legends or classifieds or something like that's the sort of volume that you're talking about per figure. That's not really sustainable for the college level, and really honestly the professional level when you think about it. And I think that's number one. Number two is the artists and companies that are sort of mid-sized or small indie companies. They're all based usually on the West Coast or the Northeast. They're not really sports enthusiasts to begin with, and if they are sports enthusiasts, they're probably on the professional level, not the collegiate level. And so what most people don't understand, especially outside the South and some of parts of the Midwest, is that college sports is actually bigger than professional in terms of the people that really follow it. So if you think about, we were having that conversation about New England, the University of Alabama Stadium is literally twice the size capacity of the New England Patriots. So,
really?
Yes.
Bigger than Gillette? That's wild to hear.
Yeah.
So college football is bigger business than professional football.
In some ways, not every way. Let's be honest. So that's part of it. And so you just have artists that aren't really interested. You have small to medium companies that aren't interested in it. And so that's how, and then the market's very small and it's very regional. So you really have to understand what you're doing to make it successful. So I think that personally is why it hasn't. There is plenty of licensed product for collegiate sports out there, but it's all what I would consider very low hanging fruit, very easy to do that you can do bottom of your basement, whether it's printing t-shirts or things like printing on mugs, whatever. It's not something like this where you actually have to go through an engineering phase and have it produced in China, which, you know, that's completely different. So I think that's why it hasn't existed before. The other key component of this is the NIL, name, image, and likeness, which is a huge component to sports right now. That's where the NCAA is sort of on its back heels. And essentially before, a player couldn't profit off of their name during their college career. Otherwise, they would lose their eligibility and not be allowed to play college sports. Now they can actually be in advertisements. They can get paid for using their name or their image. Now, most of that money that's in the system today is just sort of getting a player in a advertising role. They're not really using their name or image in the traditional sense, like we do with Collegiate Legends, where we actually have an actual football player. We have their jersey number, we have their name, we have some of the likenesses of their facial hair on the actual figure. So that's sort of new. That's never been done before, or at least very widespread.
Was it important to you to have these figures represent an actual person and not just be a generic player?
So that's interesting, because from us as action figure collectors, and Holly can certainly understand this because she has a child and she was a child once, but you know, when we buy these things and our heroes or whatever, it's sort of a representation of us. We look for us in whatever we're buying, right? So for a lot of us, it's like picking up some nostalgia from our childhood, that great feeling, because we really wanted to identify with certain characters. So that was part of it. And so we talk about how we have like generic players. We have the number 18, which is a generic, just has Alabama on the back of the jersey. It comes in a dark skin and a light skin version, but then we actually have a named character. And what's interesting is, at this point, the named character, named football player, is outperforming the other two generics in terms of sales, which is unique on a lot of fronts. That's never really happened before. So it is different. It is very important to us. We also spent a lot of time identifying who we wanted to go after first. And Malachi was one of two players that we really wanted. And he was really important to us, not because of his name recognition. I mean, he probably will be a first-round draft pick come this April. But he's a safety, doesn't get a lot of fanfare, typically like a quarterback or a running back, as you can imagine. Even a wide receiver probably gets more name recognition outside of their team, obviously, or their fans. So that was interesting, and we really wanted people that we thought would be good representation. We could have picked like the hottest 5-star recruit, but we really wanted somebody that was going to come back, contribute to their team, stayed, that kind of thing. So that was really, really big for us. So we were really excited to get Malachi Moore as the first ever NIL action figure.
The first ever, the first athlete to take advantage of this new rule. Wow. Was he psyched? Was he like over the moon to have a toy of himself?
Very much so. Yes.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I got to be the one to tell him. And he had watched Deadpool the night before. And he was like, "Wait, I get to be an action figure?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah. You can put it right next to your Deadpool. That's so cool.
Exactly. Worked in our favor. And for me, the NIL, the image and likeness, was important, not only for the kids, but NIL gets a bad rap. Everybody will tell you that it's pay for play, and it is in some scenarios. We truly stand by it. We call it NIL our way. It's not pay for play. It's the good side of NIL. And sometimes that gets lost in this money narrative. So for me, it was not only picking a player that had good morals and values, but one that would really showcase the fact that this is, in our opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, the way that NIL should be. Yeah.
That's so cool, too, because it's like, if he goes to the NFL, he might get a McFarland sports pick or whoever's making NFL at the time. But those are essentially statues. He gets an actual action figure, and he can go fight Deadpool. He can do some figure photography. That's so exciting. Now let's talk about the future, because I'm super excited. I'm sure you are super excited to sell these to other teams. Are there any other teams, and I know you have some lined up, but can you legally tell us any names yet?
If you want to, Holly, you can.
Yeah,
You can
so
drop it in.
I can legally give you two of them.
Okay.
Speaking with their directors just recently, we will have LSU. So that one's coming. Clemson is coming. Texas on its way. But we've got a lot of other offers out there that just the final dot hasn't been signed yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really looking to expand next year. And I think everybody wants the expansion. I have NFL players in my DMs asking, will you make? And I'm like, maybe case by case basis. So expansion is definitely on the horizon.
I actually had a question. So with the LSU, they normally wear their away jerseys a lot in the season. Would you all be opposed to doing an all white LSU?
Do they? I thought they had white jerseys and then yellow pants, and then when they wear white pants, it's a different, like a purple jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's for them. But I think Alabama, for instance, wears all white. And then I think Texas does that as well. I think Tennessee and Texas both have all whites, right? So ironically, a lot of teams actually usually have 4 different uniforms. Some just have 2, more traditional, but a lot have at least 3, if not 4, different uniforms. So we look at it, and from a production standpoint, we're trying to make it easier on us. So for instance, we kind of lean towards most of the uniforms that have white pants, because that way it makes it easier. Our run can be bigger. That helps us on a cost. It helps us with the factory. They appreciate it as well. Doesn't mean we won't do different types of uniforms, but once again, we're the first to do this. No one really understands what the market is at this point. And quite frankly, a lot of people don't even know we exist, even in Alabama. They don't know. It's when people think oh, it's out there, so everyone immediately knows. No, that's not how it works. You can spend months and months advertising, and people are oh, really? That exists? That's a thing? I didn't even know that. How did I not know this, right? So I think as toy collectors, we can be really in tune with our own brands that we collect. But when you think about how much effort it takes to try just to get to us to see something that hasn't been seen before, if you're not in the groups, if you're not in a group that likes other people posting other toy brands or toy lines, you don't hear about stuff. So it takes a while. So yeah, that's part of our core function right now, is just getting out there and letting people know. Now, yes, we have our stuff in the bookstores, we have our stuff in the stadium, so people that come to games, but as we all know, if you're a sports fan, most people actually don't go to the game. There's millions of people that watch the game. There's only 100,000 that go inside the stadium, but then there's another 40,000, say for Alabama, another 40 or 50,000 that show up to game day out that may not go into the stadium. So that's just a fraction of the fan base when you think about it.
I had a question that when we were talking about the uniform. So I know in the toy collector world that a big bugaboo for collectors is repaints, but I think that's one market that y'all could probably corner, is because in today's society it's feel good, play good, so teams are doing alternate uniforms. Oregon, for instance, has over 1,000 combinations, and later on down the line, I think that's something. Would you see that's something that you can possibly make expand on?
Yeah. So I think when you think about it, so from a production standpoint, everything's a repaint, because you're just putting it in different teams' colors, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's the first great thing about this from a toy manufacturer standpoint. I think the point with different uniforms is this year we went with a traditional Alabama uniform. Next year we could do a run of the away jersey.
Yes.
And so if you wanted both as a collector, you could have it. The other thing is that the players change, right?
Right.
So the jersey number changed, the player's name can change. So technically that's a repaint in a toy collector world, but that's not the same thing in that world. And so we will have different body types moving forward. There will be different body types, but yes, it will be repaints. Yes, there could be special edition, uniforms, like blackout uniforms and things like that.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so that's, especially like if you think about like, if someone won the national championship that year, that might be a great candidate for a blackout uniform, or whatever special uniform they have. I guess from Penn State's case, it's a whiteout, but yeah, so something to certainly think about. There's other things that we thought about, like how to make it special for collectors, because when you think about it, just like in regular toys, there's the kid side of it, there's the adult collector side of it, but then with sports, you have sports memorabilia collectors, right? So that's not something that's really in toys right now. And I guess this is as good a time as any to talk about our Signature Legends series that we're going to be rolling out here shortly. And that's where we're going to offer certain players, potentially on very limited runs, coming with their own signature. And that's not printed on the box, that's actually signed by the player.
Oh,
That's an actual signature, not a
Yes.
facsimile. Wow.
So, and that goes back to the whole, like, most people don't go to the games.
right.
So if you think about it, it would be great if there was a limited edition run, a very low limited edition run of a figure of a player on your team, and you could get a signature, an actual signature on the box, and you live 3 states away. That would be really nice as a collector, right? So it's a very boutique thing we're trying out. You should see some go up on the website here shortly, but not shortly tonight, but shortly in the next week or two. But yeah, so that's something that we're exploring.
Let's
What
get
Rob
really
was trying to tell you is you were the first to know that we're going to have a signature series.
exclusive news on the Reluctant Adult podcast. Thank you so much. I'm going to put the banner. Rob, let's get real geeky about signatures. So is that Sharpie? Is that Posca pen?
It's a Sharpie.
Sharpie. Okay, you're going Sharpie. You feel like that has the best shelf life. It's not going to chip.
That was what was available in that hallway for that player to sign.
Gotcha.
That's how that worked.
Don't let him lie to you. He had like a pocket. He had thin Sharpie. He had medium Sharpie. He had big Sharpie.
This is true. I did ask the player's preference because they sign it a lot, so they know how their signature works. So that's a huge thing too. Like, it's not, when you think about it, it's like, what is the individual used to signing with? What is comfortable? What's going to come out on the box the best way? The box are matte, a really nice matte finish, but it's a nice box. But I think that works well. I haven't sent one off to get graded yet. We have to talk to some of the grading institutes, because obviously when you have something that no one's ever done before, they don't know how to grade it. But coming from us to get graded is going to be relatively easy since we're the manufacturer.
Do you like grading action figures? Are you on board with that?
No, I don't grade anything, but for Savage Crucible, I have a graded graphic novel since we put out a graphic novel. So I had one graded just for posterity.
Sure.
I don't personally grade anything, but once again, there's a whole side of this that's not in toy collecting that we have to be cognizant of. And so from the sports collector standpoint, that might be something that really appeals to them.
Oh, yeah.
But once again, that's the first one. That's the first ever NIL collegiate figure ever done, so why not have one graded just for posterity?
Pop 1 of 1. GameStop is doing grading now. Were they doing cards?
Yeah,
they're
trying to
Sell
get
and
into
grade
it too.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I do gotta say, I love the attention to detail, because like you even gave him like not a generic shut helmet, you gave him like the F7, and I
look at
I
that.
love that.
Look at Billy
I can't
earning
say
your
that
good.
is
That's a good
exactly
info.
like the F7 helmet. It is a likeness of a college football helmet is the best I can say.
Okay, I would love to see like what the new ones are. I can't remember the name of them now, but
So like this goes back to I didn't realize, like, I'm so used to watching Alabama, I didn't really pay attention to how many different brands that teams have. There's the Adidas, there's the MJ, or the Nike. I was like, wow, I didn't realize. I didn't even know. Honestly, I was so obtuse. I didn't even know that MJ had done a brand that was on college football uniforms. I never even thought of that, right? which is like Oklahoma and Michigan and several other teams actually.
Oh, that's right. And then now Patrick Mahomes has his own uniform that Texas Tech wears.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So sort of interesting. But yes, the sculpt is beautiful. Dan Mitchell did the sculpt. He did a hell of a job. He's a college football fan as well, so that came through. But to have him in hand, the detail really shines on that sculpt as a collector.
I gotta tell you, you think football action figure, you're like, all right, like maybe this is an articulated bobblehead. Like, I was blown away. The fact that there is a fully painted face under this helmet. Mm-hmm. I'm like, am I on Punk'd right now? Like, this is way too good. Like, I still can't believe no one has done this before. I am in love with the articulation on this, and you made the decision not to do the mid-torso joint, and I thank you for that, because I hate that joint when done improperly, and I think it would have ruined the number. So I think it's so much more important to have that clean look than have that joint.
Definitely. Like, I got Bazooka from the G.I. Joe Classified line. If you're familiar with him, he wears a football jersey, and they have that mid crunch, and the number looks bad. And that was a huge decision on our part. I was like, no. I mean, we still could have put mid crunch in there and had the jersey still, because there's a whole torso underneath the jersey.
It's like a soft rubber.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have really gotten much out of it, so we didn't really think it would. It was worth it. You can still move the arms above the head because
right. I didn't think that would be possible, but you absolutely can get them up there.
Yeah,
I love this joint here, the waist joint. Mm-hmm. So much movement. He's like Spider-Man. Look at this. This is fantastic. Flying into the end zone.
Some of the photographers have done an amazing job posing them.
This is so good.
So between Dan's sculpt and the factory just did a fantastic job on this as well. So we're really proud of them.
The head sculpt.
Rob's not going to give himself credit, but Rob was hands-on at the factory for an extended period of time to make sure that came out as well as it did. So he sacrificed for us all.
We thank you for that. Yeah, because you got to get it right.
It was a great trip. I learned a lot on that trip, so it was.
Because this is the body. This body's going to be used forever. Every.
So we consider that more of the wide receiver, QB, DB body type. It's, we'll have a lineman body type. We'll have more of a linebacker.
A chunky guy. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Big guy. Yeah.
So and then we can branch out from that as we move forward or whatnot, but. The base we want to have is 3 body types. It's not going to, I think starting lineup did a great job in terms of like having all the tattoos and all that. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of overkill.
You're talking about the original starting lineup? Because the Hasbro, the newer ones, they didn't have anything.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that once again, like their price point and what they're trying to accomplish in terms of distribution is just not feasible. I think it's definitely a small toy company kind of feel. I think that's where we're at now. Maybe one day we'll have a Tom Brady, Michigan.
Or Desmond Howard Heisman pose.
So that's where you get into that specialty uniform and things like that. Is you can actually do like a Joe Burrow and an LSU uniform.
Yes.
So you could do a Legacy Legends series. A lot of the universities are
already trademarked, guys, so don't worry about it.
Exactly. And I think we've not met a player yet that has said no to becoming an action figure.
Oh my God, could you imagine? Like, no, I don't want a childhood dream to come true. Exactly. Yeah. This is the generic figure. Whose head is under here? Is this you, Rob?
No. I don't know who Dan used it for inspiration for that head. I never asked him, but yeah, it was.
Can I send you some reference shots of myself for a future one, because I would love to have a little Paul under there.
And Savage Crucible, some of the sculptors actually have tried to sneak their likeness in a head sculpt before. So
back in the Toy Biz days, every other figure was Jesse Falcon. You got to get him in there.
Right. Yeah. It's a thing. It's a thing. So we're excited. We're also going to do mascots as well.
You're going to do mascots? Whoa, hold on.
Fun.
Let's reset. Same level of articulation with the mascot?
Of course.
Oh my goodness. Do you have any names?
Well, we're licensed at. You already know where we're licensed at, so.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So the way this works is you become licensed with the university in concept, like in the concept of it, right?
Okay.
And then once the university is on board, then you submit like the football player, the mascot. LSU is so enthused about a Mike the Tiger, like
Yeah.
just, wants to be the first. So our mascots, I think they will have just as much movement and perfection as Mr. allows over there. But I think that they will appear to a little bit of a larger crowd too. Because
Can you pop the heads off and they got somebody's head under there?
that's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of compatibility, we're talking about like we definitely want to be able to take the mascot head and then be able to put it on the Collegiate Legend body,
Yes.
right? Because just man.
Will this pop right off, or do I need to heat it up?
I've
there
never
it is.
tried it personally.
Look at
so,
that. Right off.
yeah.
Oh.
There we go. I'm sure I can put it back on. No
The
problem.
hands are definitely easy to interchange.
Yes, the
That'll
hands are
definitely
great.
be-
You get 10 hands. You get 2 footballs. 3 footballs, because 2 of them are attached to the hand if you're a lefty.
right.
You guys, just a quick round of applause for everything you did here. Because it would have been so easy to just do the figure 5 points of articulation. People would have gone crazy over that.
No,
But, like,
no.
this
Clearly,
is a-
I'm a
this is
collector. That was
real.
never an option.
Yeah, thank goodness you were the one to do these. Because if they just had any, Joe Schmo off the street, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do action figures. No, we're gonna do action figures. If we're gonna do action figures, we're gonna do action figures. So I really appreciate that.
Now that you got the players, the mascots, what's the thing that rounded off is play sets like sideline benches and cue cards and
Coaches,
stuff. And
cheerleaders.
coaches?
Oh, there we go.
I think basketball, the head basketball coaches and baseball coaches, and even the gymnast coaches.
They wear jerseys or no?
Like
baseball.
they are more keen for their players to be made as well. There's a lot, like we were having a discussion about gymnasts, we were having a discussion about cheerleaders. Are those possibilities? Yeah, they're all possibilities. Let's just be honest. Like that's just depends on the demand curve and things of that nature. So sky's the
I
limit.
say we never say no. We just evaluate as it comes
sure.
along.
Yeah.
Because we were not on the internet 10 days and I had NFL players coming at me. And I was like,
Wow.
let's look at it. So yeah, softball player. I mean, all of those are possibilities. The coaches have already requested their players to be made in other sports.
Wow.
So we'll just see where it takes us.
I
Do you
did
feel
post.
overwhelmed? Do you feel overwhelmed by this? Because it seems like you've opened a door and everybody wants to come in.
Okay. No, I don't think we're overwhelmed. I think both of us we're avid sports fans, right? So it's both what we love. I don't know. Sometimes it is overwhelming simply because the demand is there. It's when you're talking about NFL teams, you're talking about different colleges, and then we have the fans. And for every post I have up, I have 10 people going, "Bring me Texas."
Yeah. Sure.
So
Yeah.
and we're trying to get there as fast as we can. I don't know that it's overwhelming all the time. We get to go into places. We did a NIL gifting with Malachi Moore, and inevitably that was just a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
20 kids ripping open your toy and
Oh,
then
my God.
playing with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. That's cool.
Smashing each other and so for every moment that's overwhelming, we get the opportunity to have a little fun with it. And
That's so great.
he makes sure that not only is it kid friendly, but it's also the action figure, the collector side. So I don't know that we're overwhelmed a lot. I just think, yes, sometimes the requests come at us faster than we can fill them, but we hear them all. And we are moving through the licensing process lightning fast compared to other areas.
Is this your full-time gig, or is this just a side hobby for you?
No, we both have full-time jobs.
Wow.
Wow.
That makes it even more impressive that you can get this
full-time
done.
jobs, and then we have 2 different toy brands.
Yeah.
And it is a lot. That's why she runs the Collegiate Legends, especially the interaction with the university. So I'm a little bit more hands-on in the public-facing with Savage Crucible, which is in itself another great toy line if you're into fantasy.
Yeah.
But I do think it is kind of overwhelming personally. It is
There we
a
go.
lot.
Thank you for the honesty.
Yeah, it really is a lot. Because Holly doesn't have to. She has to deal with the university, which is usually multiple stakeholders. She gets to deal with sometimes the players and or their agent / representative, which is lots of times they might have a representative, and all of them have moms. And that's something we were just having a conversation about earlier, is how passionate and protective the moms are of their children, which is amazing. It really is. I told her how jealous. I was telling a mom tonight how jealous I was actually of how much she clearly loves her child and wanted to make sure everything was done right by him, which was amazing. So it is fun to get to see kids play with your toys, because doesn't happen a whole lot, and especially genuine excitement like that.
Yeah.
But then also to see people get to be made into action figure, that was really nice. So yeah, it can be overwhelming. It's just in terms of also trying to explain to people at the university level, they have misconceptions about manufacturing and the time frame that it takes. Like, we need decisions now in order to get this ball rolling for next season. And they don't understand like minimum order quantities. They're like, well, just do this. I'm like, well, you don't understand how much capital it takes just to do that. Like, it's not something, you're not buying t-shirts that everybody in the country buys and slapping some some paint on the back of it. Doesn't work that way. So that can be overwhelming from that standpoint, but yeah, it is still fun, and no one's ever done it. So I love to climb that hill, I guess is the best way to put it. So
Yeah.
And it's a completely different world from the fantasy, from the Savage Crucible side, from the audience to the product to the licensing. So I could see, Rob is well versed in the fantasy side. So sometimes we have to step back and say, yeah, but what applies there, doesn't apply over here. And yes, sometimes you have to tell people at a university level, that's not, I understand that's what you're asking, but that's not possible. But we've also not put our action figure in anybody's hands at a university level that hasn't loved it.
Yeah.
From the field to the movement. So it's what they don't see it sometimes, but once you put it in their hand, then they can see it.
Yep.
I did post it around on a couple of like the Longhorn pages, and out of the 100 comments, 60 comments wanted it, and then about 40 wanted like holding calls. So I'm just trying to figure out.
They wanted what? You broke up. I didn't catch the last part.
They wanted holding calls, and I was like, where you get this? I was like, where's the flags at?
That would be a great accessory. Why don't we have flags? Oh my god!
There you go. We need a ref.
I am looking forward to the day where the Texas fan and the Alabama fan can play them against each other.
Yes.
Oh, well, my dad's side's Bama fan, so I deal with that all the time. And I'm a fan of Blitz, Bama Blitz.
Well, see, I'm waiting for the day that like frat kids are throwing them in bonfires. The opposing team.
Lord.
Oh, there you go.
No.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
You can sell them like damaged ones for like cheap. Cannon fodder. Yeah. Slightly
that's
irregular.
Yeah.
What about like a double pack of like great rivalry teams
Oh,
players?
there you go.
a divided household?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a A&M Texas, Oklahoma Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
That's a good idea. That really is. I hadn't really
Great. I work for you guys
Consider that
now.
like a two-pack,
I don't look at
yeah.
that. Look, we're giving you all this great,
Yeah.
great info.
Interestingly enough, it is that way in the licensing world. If one place has something and another place doesn't, they're very quick to jump on board.
Yes. Ooh,
And
yeah.
so that's what's kind of allowing us to expand into multiple spaces next year, because you can't have a Texas without a Texas A&M.
Yep.
You know, you've got to balance both. So yeah, that's actually it's a great idea.
Yeah.
If someone wants to get their hands on these figures and they're not in the Alabama area, how do they go about doing that?
Our website.
Is that
So
Collegiate Legends?
legends.com,
Okay.
or any of our social media. Just type in Collegiate Legends. They're available for purchase there. They are going into some online retailers.
Oh.
Well, one, maybe two.
The fan
so
channel sites?
we've got some of those going there. But yes, they're mostly available off the website if you aren't on campus. And then we will have some storefronts throughout the state of Alabama that will carry them through the holiday season. So I'm sure they ship places too.
Have you seen anyone customizing these? Like, say they're not an Alabama fan.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
seen that already? Oh, wow. Okay.
That was maybe the third or fourth YouTube video that went up. Somebody taking it apart, customizing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think from the action figure world, and I'm not from that world, but people have been waiting for this for a while. And so
Absolutely. Yes.
they snacked them up and have started to take them apart and customize and,
Yeah.
have a lot of fun with them.
Because Hasbro teased us. They said NFL was coming, and then they were like, oops, we had to sell 90% of our stock to Ollie's for a song. So we couldn't do it. So the fans were ready for football action figures, and then it was taken away from them. So you are filling a very necessary hole in our collection. So I thank you for that. And so if people want to know what's coming next, they should follow your socials. What are the names on there?
So we're just Collegiate Legends everywhere.
Just Collegiate Legends?
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
There you go.
just across all of the platforms. And because we are the one and only, you could literally just Google college football action figure and
There you go.
we'll come up on top. When we have a section on the website where we're bringing in the new schools kind of as we sign them and pull them on. So they'll be located there. And then you could always check your favorite players' social media, because as we start to sign more players, you will see it out on their social media, or you could just tell them that you want them to be an action figure.
Yeah, just tweet them.
Yeah, absolutely. So pretty much just Google. We're the only one that pops up right now.
I have a little bit of an off-the-wall request. Do you recall Anthony Hardaway's Little Penny mascot? And it was voiced by Chris Rock.
I missed this.
No,
So Penny Hardaway was on the Orlando Magic. I think
I know who
this was
he
like
is.
90s. This is like Shaq, like, big time Orlando. And he had a little puppet version of himself called Lil Penny.
Stop it. No, don't
And he was
Google
voiced
it.
by Chris Rock. And I would love an action figure of Lil Penny. I think back in the day they probably made something, but I would love to see a more articulated one. So that's my dream request for you someday,
Okay.
Lil Penny.
Noted.
Talking. Yeah. Here he is. They got him on eBay in the package and everything.
Yeah, there you go.
That's crazy.
Rob and Holly, is there anything else you'd like to share about Collegiate Legends or any other upcoming projects that people should be aware of?
I mean, no, I just, follow us on social media, show your support. We doesn't matter who we're posting about. Clearly, Alabama's the first team out there. So just even commenting underneath pictures and saying that you want such and such team is a great way to bring attention to it. It's also a great way to bring attention to the universities or the players. So that's really important. Like I said before, www.collegiatelegends.com. If you want to order a figure, give it a try, give it a whirl. Greatly appreciate it, and we hope that we can bring your team to life in action figure form in the future.
I think you guys are going to do just fine. I think you've really hit on something here that people are going to be very excited about.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for having us on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rob and Holly. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You two guys.
You too.